Now we're live. Are we live? Now I think we're live. We had a little delay going on there. So tell me if you guys can hear and see me and there's no delay going on. I just want to make sure that everything is going okay. So if you can give me a heads up that you guys can hear me and see me in the chat, I would appreciate it. Thank you. Yes, no delay. Thank you. All right, fantastic. And that, you know, it's funny when you're doing this stuff, it's kind of crazy because there's so much technology going on. Thank God I have 3 screens because I could not do this. Thank you all. I got it now. It all looks good and sounds good. So what I'm going to do is I am going to run the opener and we'll talk about what's going on here today in just a moment. All right, here we go. Live shows. Don't you love them? I am trying to keep an eye on the chat window, but honest to goodness, it is really, really hard. So if you have any questions, if you could save the questions to the end, I will try and throw them in the queue and answer them toward the end of the show. But I kind of have a pretty good agenda going here with some of the news updates that are going on, the DNA kit that I'm going to be giving away, the shout out to Stories Behind the Stars, and getting to some of the questions from the YouTube channel. And then we'll get to some of the live questions, time permitting. Hey, everybody, it's good to see you. I'm going to take a quick look at the queue. I'm going to throw this one up real quick. June, thank you for the comment. I think June is referring to the new Tuesday episodes. When she said, because I was thanking her for continued support, and she said, love your tidbits, approach to genealogy. Thank you. I am trying to add some of the little snippets from the various videos on Tuesdays. So they're now Tuesdays and Fridays with new videos. So I think it's probably time, especially for those who have never been to this channel, to introduce myself. So my name is Connie Knox. I am a lifelong genealogist here to help you go further, faster, and factually with your family history research. I also hope that you will take a moment and subscribe to the channel. The last time I looked, I was approaching, I think it was 56,000 subscribers. I would love to get over the top this weekend on that. All you have to do is hit the subscribe button. It's free. You know, it's different than the channel membership, but so I might as well talk about the channel membership real quick. The channel membership, if you are joined at the support level or the information access level channel membership, you get early access to the videos. And then the people that are at the information access also get the handouts when they come out. There's also Patreon, which is an opportunity to get handouts emailed to you directly. All right, so what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about these news updates. And so what I think I want to do is I'm taking a quick peek at the, oh my goodness, hello from Sweden. Well, you know what, while we're talking about it, where are you watching from? I would love to see that in the chat. You know, sometimes I tend to jump right into the video and I forget that we're doing this live. So it's always fun to hear. We've got Orlando is in the house. Let's see, who else do we have here? Oh, wow. We've got folks from all over. And I'm hoping these are coming up. Kendall from Illinois. Awesome. Let's see who else we got. New York. We got New York is in the house. Let's see if I can get that to go. There we go. And oh, thank you. Oh, you guys are so sweet. Look at this. We got San Antonio's in the house. Colorado is in the house. Montreal. Look at that. Awesome. Okay, so This is too much fun. Way too much fun. We got Melissa, I think, from North Carolina. Oh my goodness, you guys rock. Oh, look at this. Oh, South Africa. We've got one from South Africa all around the world. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. All right. So here's what we're going to do. I am going to drop this one and we're going to kind of jump into the Q&A now that I know the audio is working and everything and you guys can all hear me. Oh, I have to put this one up. There we go. One from Denmark. Fabulous. I have ancestry from Denmark myself, so it's good to see you here. Oh my gosh, you guys from all over the world. This is incredible. Wow. I am so thrilled. How fun. The mountains of North Carolina. Oklahoma's in the house. Let's see. Oh my gosh. Fantastic. California, my home state. Welcome, welcome. All right. Fantastic. All right. So what we're going to do, let me drop this and go ahead and kind of get into the slides. So let's talk about what's going on. So Ancestry's coming out with some new views. I don't know if you know this or not. Now, some of you might be already getting some of these views. Ancestry was not really clear on what or when and where these are coming out. I believe they're rolling out in the United States first. But what I have done is I put together a video to show you what the new views look like. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and play that video. This is a pre-recorded part of my show, but it'll give you kind of a sneak peek at what is coming. Okay, so Ancestry is rolling out some new views. You can kind of see it in the background. But as soon as it popped up here, it says, welcome to your new Ancestry experience. You still have everything you had before, but just with a fresh new look and feel. What has changed? In addition to more modern look and feel, this change includes improvements to consistency and accessibility across Ancestry. This sets the stage for more frequent updates and will help us launch new features faster. Be on the lookout for improved views in trees, a new photo enhancement tool, and new Eastern Europe DNA communities with more updates coming soon. Your opinion matters. Be a part of the Ancestry family. We want to hear from you. Click the feedback button on the lower right corner of the screen anytime you have thoughts to share. Let's go. All right, so I wanted to show this to you. This is actually the new view in the tree, and you can see that the leaves have changed, the font has changed, they have added. Now, keep in mind, this is a different account for me, so when I imported this, a lot of my pictures went away. I did add one up here, but it shows you this new little shape for the profile picture, and as soon as you import that picture into a person's profile and you put it in the gallery, see all new fonts and the color scheme is pretty much the same, but it does have kind of a new look, new feel, new fonts. I actually think it's easier to read. Going over to the facts column, it's kind of got some new style to it a little bit. I kind of like it. It kind of pops a little bit better, I think. Going over to life story, you can see that it has a little bit different view. Let's go back to the facts column for a second. So if we click on birth, you can see that this really changes the color scheme. I love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Can't wait for it to roll out to my regular account. Let's go look at hints and see what it looks like. Yep, so it all has a little bit different feel. This is the feedback button that I was mentioning earlier. And so I think I like it. I do. I think I like it. Let's go look at the tree tags. All right, so the colors are a little bit better, a little bit easier to read, I think. Very good. I like it. I'll take it. Just go back to the tree view just for a second. So yeah, kudos to Ancestry. I like it. I like the colors. It feels good. All right, so I kind of liked it, especially because the font just feels more crisp and clear. And so I see that Pam here is saying that she's already seeing the changes. There's supposed to be feedback box at the bottom right, but that is missing. Okay, well, let's move on. We're going to talk about just a quick little comment about RootsTech from FamilySearch. They have decided that the virtual conference is coming back. It is going to be free. And there is a link in the description box below the video. I can probably put that in the chat. It's kind of a long one. Let me copy that real quick. I think I can do this. If you guys want to register, RootsTech is always a great opportunity to learn from really awesome speakers. And this year it's going to be virtual again. And it will be free as well. So kudos to RootsTech for that. Okay, we are going to jump now to MyHeritage. So MyHeritage has added some new color coding. So here I am on the MyHeritage page. And this is just a screenshot because I can't really show it to you live because of privacy issues. But so they've added the new color coding grouping just like over at Ancestry. And again, kudos to MyHeritage. They've got some really great DNA tools going on over there. But this allows you to group your DNA matches along family history lines if you're not familiar with how to do that. But they've added this new label section over here where you can click on that and then you can add it. You can create a new... In fact, let me grab a laser pointer so you guys can see where I'm going. So you could click on create a new label, create the label, and then you would check mark that and it would then add it to your cousin matches. And it shows over here. You can also use the star, by the way, if you just want to pick out a few favorites. But I'm telling you this, when you group your DNA matches, this is where you really have success using DNA cousin matches. 2022, did I have a typo on there, Yorkie? I may have had a typo on there. All right, anyway, moving on. So we have, yes, virtual in 2022. Okay, SLIG is also going back to virtual. Now, they had originally announced that they were going to be live and in person, but I think the pandemic things are happening and they've decided to go back to a virtual platform. They sent out an email earlier today kind of announcing that. And so be on the lookout if you have already signed up for SLIG. That's Salt Lake Institute of Genealogy, by the way, which I'm a big fan of. And so that the idea behind SLIG, if you're not familiar with it, is it's a week-long workshop. It's like one subject. You don't go, it's not like when you go to RootsTech or one of the other, RootsTech is a conference, SLIG is an institute, if you will, but it's like one subject, massive deep dive for a week into those subjects. So there might be opportunities with it going virtual that you might be able to get into some of the classes that were sold out before. So you know, check into that if that is something you're interested in. Yes, Yorkie, SLIG, Salt Lake Institute of Genealogy. It's usually held every year in the wintertime in Salt Lake City. And all right, so Stories Behind the Stars. So Stories Behind the Stars is a project created by a guy named Don Milne. And I grabbed this text off of his YouTube channel, but he also has a website. It's a whole project. It's a whole thing. I'm going to show you some video here in a minute. But it is, it says, Stories Behind the Stars is a channel dedicated to finding stories about the 400,000 American men and women killed during World War II, documenting their stories and sharing them. So this is a pretty big project. I've got two clips that I'm going to show you. So one is right off of the Stories Behind the Stars website. I'm going to show you that one first, and immediately followed by a quick little interview that I did with Dawn. I recorded a couple days ago to give you a little bit more behind the scenes of what this project is about. And by the way, this is not sponsored by anybody. I am just impressed with what this guy has done. So here we go. I'm going to play this video for you. In Arlington, welcome to Genealogy TV.
Thank you, Connie. It's so glad to be with you today.
So a big shout out to you, what you're doing here with the Stories Behind the Stars project. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about how that got started?
I'm just a terrible golfer, and I had some extra time and my kids were older, so I was looking for a pastime. So back in 2016, I got a membership to Ancestry. A lot of your viewers probably use Ancestry. And so I started looking at what it had on there. And because I've been a history buff, I said, oh, look at these military records. And I ended up deciding for a pastime, I'm just going to write a story about someone who served in World War II and didn't come home. And I'm just going to do this for like a 4-year period on my lunch break, just for fun, because no one's ever done this before that I could see and see what, and then I'll be done. But as it turned out, I found out other people wanted to do that. About 1 million people ended up reading my blog. And so we turned this into a full-time thing. So now it's just not me doing these stories. I've got hundreds, more than 1,000 actually, people that are helping me with this project. They come from all 50 states and more than a dozen other countries. And we just researched people who served and died in World War II that were Americans. There's 421,000 of them. So it's going to take us a little bit of time, but we've already got about 13,000 stories done. So
wow. Wow. So if we wanted to search those 13,000, how do we do that?
The name of our organization is Stories Behind the Stars, and we're a partner of Ancestry and one of their divisions, Fold 3.
Okay.
You might see that sometimes when you go to Ancestry. You might see a side panel talking about Fold 3, and that focuses on remembrances of people in the military from all of the wars that the United States has had. It can be used by people from other countries too. But if you go to the Fold 3 site, you don't have to be a member to do this. You just, in the search box, type in Stories Behind the Stars. You'll get to our partners page, and there's a search button, and you can just type in names, or you can search by the different photos that rotate through there to see some of the stories that are already there. And then you can find the ones that are already done. But with only 10,000 out of 421,000, that's still kind of like a needle in a haystack as far as what we'd like to have. But our goal is by September of 2025, which is the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II. By that time, in this 4-year period, we would like to have a story for every one of these World War II fallen. And it's not just going to be on a website that you have to get on your computer to log into, but you will be able to go to any memorial or any gravesite and just have your phone right there, and it'll pop right up if you have the app open, and you'll be able to read that person's story. So
what's the app? Is the app a Story Behind the Stars app, or is it just a QR code that we can scan?
I don't even need a QR code. Right now, the first app that we have using with this is from Find a Grave. And I actually, when our call's done, I have to go over to the cemetery and check it out because it was just released today and haven't tried it out yet. But the idea that they told me is how it'll work is use Find a Grave, go in the cemetery, the geocode, if you're close to the actual grave that has a story, it'll pop up on your phone, and then you can click it. And then Fold 3 and Find a Grave, they're both Ancestry divisions. So the Find a Grave is supposed to talk to the Fold 3, and we're posting our stories on Fold 3. So you should be able to read it right there. Many of them deserve to be remembered for what they did, and all of them need to be remembered more than just by name for what they've been able to bring to us. I think as a nation, we rightly have a Memorial Day. We have a Veterans Day when we honor these people. We bring them flowers and we put out flags. But I think it's much more enriching and much more meaningful if it would also bring, you visit that gravesite and you can learn more about that person. We're super excited now that the project with Pearl Harbor is completed, that our next project, most ambitious one to date, is we got the list of the people who died during the war years from Arlington National Cemetery. So we're gathering volunteers to start doing the stories of all of the World War II fallen from Arlington. That's one of the videos we have on our website on YouTube, is to announce that project. We're calling it no more unknown soldiers. Because in the 21st century, we don't have an excuse to go up to a gravesite and say, I wonder what that person was about.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's super possible. It just within 2 or 3 hours, if a researcher can come up with some details and a photo, and if we have it in this common database and it's tied to a smartphone app, you've just changed the experience for the 4 million people that visit Arlington every year, because this app will make it available for them to not wonder who that person was, but they'll be able to see, oh, that person was a World War II fallen. I'm going to learn who that person was. And well, they can.
Let me ask you, if somebody wants to volunteer for this project, where do they go?
They go to storiesbehindthestars.org. That's our website. Our volunteer button is very prominently displayed. And if they fill that out, they're not signing up like they're drafted for the Marines or the Army. They're just given a link to where our training material is. They can look over it. And some people add just one story. And I would say more than half the people that are involved, they're just focusing on a family member. And who better to write the story than someone that knew them very well, or their descendants, or somehow related. Those are great. So we want all of those, but we do have a lot of people that are kind of doing the one story a week plan, which means in a couple of years they can do 100 stories. And so these people that gave their lives made it possible for the world to have as much blessings as we've experienced.
Well, kudos to you for doing this. A big shout out to you and to the volunteers who have been working so hard at this. I really appreciate you joining me today.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And I'll leave some links in the show notes for people to find your website, the YouTube channel, the volunteer button, whatever it takes. All right. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Connie.
Hey, we're going to get back to that video here in just a moment, but I want to let you know that Genealogy TV has a website, a newsletter, and a Facebook page. Links for all of that are in the show notes below. All right, let's get back to it. All right. Well, I think that is a pretty awesome project. I wanted to make sure that we gave them a shout out, and I was able to throw a few of your comments on the screen during the video as it played. So now what I'm going to do, we're going to jump into some comments from the YouTube channel. And with that comes some explanations, and some of this is regarding DNA. So let me get that started. So one of the comments came in from a guy named I'm Just Dwight, and he says, "Hi Connie, how do you find the longest shared DNA segment in AncestryDNA matches?" So the quick and dirty answer to that is, if you are in a view where you are sharing DNA with somebody, right here where this box is, I put up here, it says 11% DNA that I share with Stephanie. If you click on that, it'll take you to a pop-up screen just like this, and it shows you the longest segment. And I don't really want to go into a lot of detail about the longest segment and how that works. It's kind of involved conversation, but I just wanted to at least get that question answered. Same gentleman, also, Dwight, asked the same similar questions. He says, I currently have over 25 cousin matches whom I've determined their common ancestor, but I cannot determine how I'm related to them other than it being on the maternal side. The maternal side of my tree is built out to the great-grandparents only, and beyond them, it is a complete mystery. I have a lot of maternal matches, and I have no idea how I'm connected to them. I think I'm stuck until I can find more info on the great-grandparents and their immediate families. Am I looking at this correctly? Okay, so what we're going to do to kind of answer your question, to simplify that question, here's a DNA match. You have no idea how you connect. So I'm going to run through several things that will kind of help. And some of this I know, Dwight, you already know, but for the audience at large, there's going to be some information that we're just going to quickly review. So if I take my first cousin, for example, this is my tree. And if I take my first cousin, that means that we have grandparents in common. First cousin, grandparents in common. Okay, so if we have a second cousin, that means that we have great grandparents in common. And if you haven't heard me talk about the G rule, it's great grandparents. So there's 2 G's, means that you have a second cousin. Okay, so if you're looking at your second cousin match list, and that means that your second cousins descend from one of the 4 pairs of great grandparents. 2 G's, second cousins. So you're looking at second cousins, you can know that they come from one of those 4 great grandparents. Now, keep in mind too that there might be some differences if you have half second cousins. We're not going to get into all that. It could get a little more dicey on the centimorgans, but just know that as a general rule, that is the case. So if we take that one step further, if you have third cousins in your DNA match list, then you're going to have in common with that cousin one of these 8 couples, right? This is my tree, but you can visualize your tree, okay? So let's talk about this for a minute. So there are 4 episodes that I've done, actually 5, but there are 4 episodes that really kind of walk you through this process if you haven't seen them. So this DNA Strategies the Pros Use is an older episode, but it really kind of gives this high level view of what, how you can basically connect 2 unconnected people. How can you figure out roughly how it works? So this kind of explains what you need to do at a high level, right? The overview. And then this grouping DNA matches on Ancestry, assuming you're on Ancestry, but if you're on MyHeritage, it works the same way. If you can group your DNA matches into family lines, then you start to see how this works. In this episode, I made one tiny little comment that I probably should have clarified, so I clarified it in this episode and then dug deeper. And then in digging deeper, this episode, the 4th episode here, I went even one step further. So I have these in the description box below if you want to watch them, but I do recommend if you're brand new at DNA that you watch them in this order, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so I think Dwight already knew some of this. So we're going to kind of go a little bit further as to what you can do here real quick. So here I am with my first cousin, Stephanie, and he said in his question that he knew who the common ancestors were for some of these people. And so you would see that on a screen that looks like this. So if you'd click through to your cousin on the DNA match list, you would get to this screen on Ancestry anyway. And it shows the common ancestors over here. And it also shows in the tree over here. So what you want to do is click on the Shared Matches tool. And it gives you a list of the cousins, right? And then you can color code them. I'm not going to go into all of this in great detail because it's in those episodes. And for those who already know how to do this. But what you can do then, so these slides here that I'm going to go through right now are from the very first episode I showed you, DNA Strategies the Pros Use. And so what we're going to kind of demonstrate here are 2 things on the same graph. So one is, if you don't know who your parents are at all, then this is important to you, okay? And yes, matching is hard when you have endogamy. Yes, I agree. But what we're going to do is we're going to kind of take a look at this. Okay, so let's pretend for a moment that you have those third cousins, and this is one of them. So you can click on the Shared Matches tool and find other people that have that same line. So if you know who, let's pretend for a moment that this is connected. You know who this connection is, okay? So it looks like this over here, right? So you know who the common ancestor is because you've built the tree out to that person. And by the way, this is kind of a quick and dirty view of what a through line might look like. So if you go up, you already have researched to this great grandparent couple, and then you come back down to this third cousin. That's a through line. Some people get confused and call that a triangulation, and it's not a triangulation. So triangulation is a different term in the DNA world. So please don't get confused by that. But this is a through line if this was, you know, graphed out here. So you've got a third cousin here, but if you clicked on that shared matches tool, let's pretend that this third cousin over here pops up. And you go, well, wait a minute, I don't know how I'm connected to this guy at all. Well, here's what you need to do. I mean, this is kind of the high level view. You need to research all of these guys, right? And you need to research this guy so that as you are researching, you start building out the family tree in a descendancy manner, right? You're doing descendancy research from this couple right here. And maybe you haven't figured out, maybe as you start to go this way, you think, well, maybe this third cousin is actually down here. Nope, we kind of struck out over here. So as we continue to do the research, we start to realize how this third cousin relates to the common ancestor if you've already got this built out. Now, if you don't already have this built out, you're basically doing the research of your DNA cousins, kind of doing it for them in your tree. And I'll show you a couple quick strategies on how you can do that in a moment. And then what you can do, if you keep going, I'm going to build out this tree just a little bit more. Okay, so here we've got some more third cousins, right? Because the great grandparents are in common with anybody in this line right here. Because the G rule again, right? Great grandparents, these cousins are the ones in common with, these are the ancestors in common with these cousins. So they've got to be third cousins. But these cousins over here have this great grandparents in common with you, assuming that you have this built out. But the strategy is the same. Even if you don't know who your parents are, or one line, you don't know who your father is, you can reach out to these folks and ask them to take a DNA test. You should pay for it, though. You should know that. Let me grab a sip of water. So that is kind of a quick way of how you can basically work the DNA from the DNA cousins, do the genealogy. You got to remember that some of these people don't have trees, right? They don't have trees because they're DNA tourists. What is a DNA tourist? Well, it's a person who takes a DNA test, really is not interested in family history. Maybe they did it for their family member, or they just did it because they were curious about the ethnicity estimates, but they never really came back. And that is pretty common. Oh, good morning from Melbourne, Australia. I think this is what that says. Okay, so moving on. So what you can do also, yes, and as my daughter would say, you can, when you're on the shared matches tool and you've got a list of shared matches, you can actually do a surname searches within the shared matches. You can stack these filters up here. And how you get to this box is you click on this search box right here. A lot of people forget about this. You click on this little search box and you can search by surname. And that will give you a list of all the trees that you have shared matches with this cousin, shared matches, who have, in this case, I don't know if you can see that, it says Williams. Let me pull this up so you can see it a little bit bigger. It says Williams in here. So if I hit the search button, then it's going to give me a list of everybody who has a tree with the surname Williams in it. So if I go back, let me go back a couple slides here for a moment. If you're looking at any of your DNA matches and you discover up the line somewhere that they've got a Williams, like somebody with the surname Williams, then what you can do is you can do a surname search for Williams to help find other family member trees and other sources to help you build it out. Well, okay, so you can do this in kind of a quick and dirty fashion, and it's called a quick and dirty tree. I think Blaine Bettinger, I think, is the first one that I saw talk about a quick and dirty tree. So I did an episode on quick and dirty trees a while back. That link is also in the show notes. And quick and dirty tree basically is an unverified links, right? So what you're doing is you're taking other member trees, maybe one source, whatever you kind of have reasonable but quick confidence in, and build out the tree to make that through line. Okay. And so here, let me pop this back up. So to build that through line, you can kind of quickly make that tree, but I would mark it also, make sure you're marking it as unverified. Okay. Because every ancestor that you attach, make sure you're unverifying it. You can use the tags, my tree tags on Ancestry. I don't know. I would just put it in a description box or something, or, don't put it in the name field, but put it somewhere where it's predominant that, hey, I'm not sure about this, in case somebody else is copying if you have a public tree. So then what you can do is you can add these people, and you can do a floating tree. Let me go back for a second. Let me go back to a couple slides back. Let's pretend for a moment you don't know this guy from Adam, but you have his name and he's a DNA cousin. You can create a floating tree. And a floating tree is merely a disconnected person within your primary tree. And you want to keep him in your primary tree. And then as you work through building out that tree, you may eventually get it to you, but you can at least add him in as a tree. Now, that episode that I did, let me get back there. This episode about the floating trees explains how to do it. But basically what you do is you connect it to somebody, and then you disconnect everybody from that person so that they're floating by themselves. So it is, yes, you can use a hypothesis tag. Good point. So yes, make sure that you're, appropriately marking people that they are, let's see, I love unverified tree tags, and also, there we go. Somehow mark them so that people are alerted that this is a hypothesis, or they're unverified, or something along those lines, so that, you can be working in a public tree without fear. Now, I strongly recommend you do not start a second tree to do this, because if you start a second tree, the DNA ThruLines thing doesn't work for you, because your DNA is attached, hopefully it is attached, to your primary tree. And if it's not attached to your primary tree, you should learn how to do that. But that way, if they are in a floating tree, and you continue to do the research until you finally figure out how they're connected, and you will eventually find a point where you get to go attach this person to someone already in my tree instead of duplicating an ancestor. That's a whole other episode. But it's I know that was a long-winded answer to your question, but I hope that helps. Okay, so let's jump on to the next subject. This was from the Social Security Death Index episode. There was a lot of questions about this, so I put a comment in there. I think this was my comment. And I got some of this information actually from a friend of mine who's a funeral director. And he says every funeral home in America is required to report deaths to the Social Security Administration when they occur. From there, the Social Security admin would be the ones to add to the Social Security Death Index. That comes from me. And make sure that you are searching all names. I would look for the death certificate to see what the name is at the time of death, and also contact the Social Security Administration to see if there's more. That Social Security Death Index episode, oh my gosh, was huge as far as views go. But if you have ever done any Social Security Death Index research, either on FamilySearch or MyHeritage or wherever, and you found somebody, you can write for the SS5 records to see if there's more in there. So, make sure you check out the Social Security Death Index records. I am quickly checking this chat. Connie, is it true that Ancestry is getting rid of quick links? I love this feature. I honestly, Anne, I don't have the answer to that. That's a good question. And I will, maybe next time I get a chance to talk to the Ancestry folks, I will ask. Okay. Okay. So I think this is Muslima Homemaker says, hi, my ethnicity results show that I am 100% African. However, I have two DNA communities, Afro-Jamaican and Indian. I think this is diaspora, I think is how it's pronounced, in the Caribbean, ? This is confusing. Are you able to explain this, please? The Afro-Jamaican is correct, but I can't see how I can be connected to the India diaspora if I don't have Indian in my ethnicity breakdown. Okay. I kind of wish that all of these DNA companies didn't even have ethnicity estimates. I don't like them. The reason I don't like them is because they're not factual. They are estimates. And while it is entertaining to go, oh, I'm 25% German, or I'm, whatever, they change. They're based on a set of people in that region, right? They have done some research on these people and they've discovered that they're deeply rooted in that area, and they become the sample set. The sample set then is compared to all of us. So this is a small sample set. We are not compared to the entire, well, let's see, I think Ancestry has about 20 million DNA kits now. We're not compared to all of those people. We're compared to the sample set. And so the ethnicity estimates, in my opinion, I love you, Ancestry, but I don't see a lot of value for doing factual family history research. Now, where the gold is at is in the cousin matches. That is factual. It is DNA. DNA doesn't lie. You know the old saying, DNA doesn't lie, but people do. So just ignore the ethnicity estimates. You can go, the only thing I go for in the ethnicity estimates is I like to see the migration patterns. They have a cool map on Ancestry where you can see the trails going across as you work your way down the timeline. I do find that kind of interesting, but again, it doesn't help me with my specific family lines. So for the most part, I just ignore the ethnicity estimates. So I got an email from a guy named David Motz, and he says, I've recently found that my local genealogical library provides subscription access to newspapers.com. Ding, 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 ding. Great comment right there. From home, I just go to the library's website and click on newspapers button there, and then I sign in to newspapers.com using my library card number. Okay. Huge tip, because I had forgotten about this. So thank you, David, for sharing this. And I wanted to share it with all of you because a lot of people don't have a subscription to newspapers.com or the expanded version. And so a lot of the libraries have a free subscription to newspapers.com, or they subscribe to it on behalf of the people who have library cards. So if you have a library card, you can log in a lot of places. I can't guarantee this is everywhere, but at least in the United States, if you have a library card, I know in my state, my library card is good for all libraries within the state. So you can log into like a state network of libraries and then dig in and use, I believe you can actually do some ancestry research on a lot of these too. So he says, I don't know how many libraries provide this. He says, I love reading obituaries. This was from the obituaries episode. He says, I usually use Google Lens to transcribe an article into text to paste it into a person's notes in Family Tree Maker. So there's another tip. So if you want to learn about Google Lens, you can Google it. And then, but these don't seem to show up online on my ancestry tree. So David, the reason why is because you're putting it in notes. So remember, on Ancestry, comments are public comments. Notes are private notes. Okay. And so when you're syncing from your family tree maker to Ancestry, if you put it in notes, more than likely it's going to pop up as a private note. It might pop up in your notes. Also check your settings on family tree maker, because I believe you can turn off and on how those notes sync. And it says, by the way, the obit will print with a person when I print reports from family tree maker. Yes. Oh, and I can also paste the transcription into the description or comments of the shared clip on Ancestry. So yeah, I actually use descriptions, and you know, I probably cheat a little bit, but one of the things this prompted me to remind people to ask yourself, how do I know that? So let's say you're looking at a marriage certificate, or you're looking at somebody's profile and you see there's a marriage fact in your list, right? In the timeline there. And it's a marriage, and you wrote, oh, these people married in 1906 and where they married maybe. But when you click on it, it doesn't draw the lines to a source. So my question to you is, how do you know that? And so what I do, if I haven't put a source in Ancestry to that marriage fact, I'll type in the description, really for myself more than anything else, because I'm always asking myself, how do I know that? And so what I'll do is I'll put per the whatever source it is, and maybe it's in my private files, but it might be something like per Aunt Mabel's 1920 census record or something, and I hadn't attached it yet, but whatever it is, put it in, even in the description, because that little description box shows quite prominently in Ancestry. So yeah, let's see, I'm just taking a quick look at the chat. Oh my gosh, we got people from everywhere. When did the Social Security Death Index start, she says? 1935 or 1936, I forget, but it actually wasn't created until 1962, if I recall correctly. But they kind of went backwards as far as when Social Security cards were first created, which was in the 1930s. And so when they created the index in the 60s, then some of that information goes back that far. Now, you got to keep in mind, too, that on the Social Security Death Index, some people didn't get their Social Security card till way later, maybe in the 1950s or whatever. In fact, I have a lot of ancestors who didn't get their Social Security card until they went to go claim Social Security in their 60s. And they said, you don't have a Social Security card, you know, and so they had to go prove their age and all this. So, you know, anyway, so sometimes people didn't get their Social Security card right away. But hopefully they did, because then they were contributing to the Social Security fund, I guess. Okay, so I have just a couple more. I think I have one more question here. Okay, so Jewel H says, will you please explain simply how to send a photo on Ancestry Message, please? Okay, so this is in the messaging system, and I know this can be confusing, so I grabbed some slides. And let me pull this up full so you can see it a little bit better. So here I am in the messaging system. Say hi to Irene. Hi, Irene. She was the one from the episode about the marriage certificate. So here, normally in the red box is where you would start typing your message, right? And you would click send over here and send it off. But if you click over here, there is a little tiny icon with a photos icon, right? A lot of people don't realize that you can do this. And so when you click on that, what happens is you get, first of all, I have 3 trees listed here. So you would click on the tree that you want. And when you do, you get a view like this. Now, here's the caveat with using this here. You cannot just attach a photograph from your files. You have to have already attached it to a gallery in your primary tree. So whatever tree that we clicked on just now, you have to have those photographs in somebody's gallery in there. So Watching from North Las Vegas. Welcome, welcome. So here's the downside to this. You've got a list of the people here, and you can scroll through this. This is just a screenshot, so I can't really scroll and show you. But, you know, these are the A's, and then we start the B's down here. I mean, if you're looking for somebody in the William, like William, or somebody way down the alphabet, you got to scroll, and then you can click on them, and it will give you the photographs for that. Now, that's an improvement, but there still is not a search window. So Ancestry, if you're watching, please, please, please put a search function right here so that we can search the ancestor's name and get right to it. So if you click up here, you're going to get all the photographs. Okay, so this is kind of what they started out with. Here's all the photographs when I clicked on just the tree itself with all the photographs. There was over 1,000 photographs in that tree, and it's not searchable. So you can see thumbnails here, but you'd have to scroll. There's no, I don't know if it's by, I don't know, file name. I don't know how this is organized. It doesn't show us, right? So I think it's actually by date added, but I really don't know. You know, sadly, we can't search that, but at least you could click on something and add it to the queue and hit send. And so that's how you can add a photograph to a message in Ancestry. All right, so I'm going to attempt to answer some questions now. Let me get kind of set up for that here real quick. Let me do this. And okay, and you know what, one more thing real quick before we get to questions. Next week's episode is an important one. I think you will find it valuable. It's not directly talking about how to research your family history, but it's what to do with your family history when we pass away. And actually it's preparing for your family history, so that your loved ones don't have to figure out what to do with the Bibles and what to do with your account, and can they get into your account. And so I've gotten clips from Ancestry, FamilySearch, and MyHeritage. They've all submitted clips on how to handle their accounts now, before we're gone, so that our loved ones know what to do with the accounts. And there's just a lot of good information in this episode, so please take time to take a look at that and plan. I know it's an uncomfortable conversation, but okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a look at WikiTree is not on your legacy screen. You're right. It's not. I didn't have time to reach out to WikiTree, and I apologize for that. Okay, so let me just take a quick moment and look at the chat window here. Okay, I'm going to throw some of these in a queue here real quick. All right, so I had collected a few of your questions and tossed them in the queue from earlier. So I'm going to try and toss these up. Hopefully everything works well. So Evan says, Connie, not sure if you've made a video about this topic already, but what are some of your some of your favorite genealogy channels that you enjoy? I really like Family History Fanatics channel as well as yours. Awesome question. Thank you so much. And yeah, the Family History Fanatics are awesome. I do watch them from time to time, especially the DNA stuff. They're really, really smart when it comes to the DNA stuff. And I know they like to talk a lot about writing and preserving, how to preserve your family history. So kudos to the Family History Fanatics for that. Some of the other ones I like to watch, Genealogy Gems. Lisa Louise Cook is good. Genie Vlogger is good. He's kind of entertaining. He likes to do a lot of reaction videos. He's also really good at Jewish genealogy. I'm trying to think offhand. WikiTree Challenge is fun to watch. You know, some of the YouTube channels that I really like too, that are not genealogy related. Here's a heads up. I like the slow-mo guys. They're really good. I like Mark Rober has got to be one of my favorite. Oh my gosh, this guy is brilliant. He always says he wanted to be a high school science teacher, and he is just phenomenal. He's famous for the glitter bomb. This is a good time of year for the glitter bomb episodes from him, because it's all about porch pirates trying to steal packages off the front porch. And he created this glitter bomb that goes off when the porch pirate takes the lid off. It throws a stink bomb and glitter everywhere. It's quite funny. So those are kind of the YouTube channels that I like to watch. Let's see, what else do we have up here? I'm going to throw this one back up again from June. June had made a comment earlier. Actually, I think it might have been before we actually started the live stream. I had thanked her for her support, she's a channel member. So thank you for that. And if you want to be a channel member, hit the join button. But, she said she likes the tidbits and approach to genealogy. Thank you for that. So I've started doing little snippets on Tuesdays from other episodes that I've done in the past. So now there are 2 uploads every week. And hopefully I can keep up that pace. We'll see. And by the way, on this live show, I have been trying to figure out how to brand it. So I was thinking about, I don't know, calling it Coffee with Connie, or maybe just a hangout. So you guys tell me in the chat if you guys want to do any live shows that are just hangouts, like, you know, no presentation or anything. Is just like, let's get together and hang out for a while and talk genealogy. Or do you like the presentations better? I'd love your feedback on that as well. So thank you so much. So let me throw this one up. Sherry had said, lunch is over, back to work for me, but she had a question. No success in finding a second great-grandparent. Think he is an orphan, but no success tracing him yet. Born in 1852 census, 1860 has him in a family not of his own. So it could be, he could be orphaned, but it could be, the old term, he was farmed out. It could be that he was working as a laborer on a farm. That happened a lot with kids starting, I've seen them as young as 6 years old, that go to live with, especially in a big family. They'll send a couple kids down the street to go work on a farm over there, and you'll find them in a census that's not with their family. And so sometimes you have to do a little research there. And here's another tip. If you do the extraction, like I've shown in other episodes, I'm trying to think of the name of it offhand. I think it's called The Number One Way to Break Down Brick Walls, updated. That episode talks about how you can pull all that data out of a census record and then sort it by surname, and you may find the family that way. So there's a tip for you. Let's see, what else do we have in the chat? Is there another reason why? Hang on one second. I'm trying to read it. So, I'm sorry. That's the one I just put up. Hang on. Yorkie, I'm not sure I completely understand your question here. It says, can you somehow connect my other trees to my main tree? I think is what she's asking. No, you can't do it. If you're talking about Ancestry, by the way, you can't do it on Ancestry, but you can do it in Family Tree Maker. I think is it Heritage Quest? There's a couple others that you can also merge. So what you do is you download your tree, or you sync your tree like from Ancestry, and then And if you have 2 trees on Ancestry, you sync them both down to like Family Tree Maker. That's where I do it. I'm not being favoritism to one or the other. I just happen to know how to do it on Family Tree Maker. And then in Family Tree Maker, you can merge them, and you have to kind of be careful not to duplicate. And then you sync back up to your main tree on Ancestry. Just be careful. Read all the little things it's telling you to do instead of just kind of quickly running through it, because you can kind of mess it up if you're not careful. So be careful with that. All right, I'm going to go back to the queue here and see if there's anybody else that can you please? Hang on one second. This one from Charles Hill says, can you please do a training on WikiTree in the future? Just starting on using it. Thank you. I have. There is one. I had Mindy come on from WikiTree. She was awesome, gave us a tour. There is one in my, so if you go to the videos on my channel, so go to youtube.com/genealogy TV. I may even have that on here somewhere. And then you can look at that video, and she kind of gives us a breakdown as to what it is. So those of you who are not familiar with WikiTree, WikiTree is a collaborative tree. It's kind of like FamilySearch. It's a collaborative tree. It's free. Oh my gosh, there's some great resources up there. So they are connecting people to the world tree. And so that is happening. Hey, by the way, I'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, so check out WikiTree and look for clues over there at WikiTree. One of the things I forgot to mention is, I don't know that I mentioned it earlier, that on December 17th, I'm giving away that MyHeritage DNA kit. I can't remember if I mentioned it or not. You know, I rehearsed it so many times. So, I don't know. All right, let's see what else we got going on here. See if I can answer. You guys, it's hard for me to manage all these questions at the same time. Oh, here's a good one. Okay. My Retired Life says, how much should it cost to hire a professional genealogy expert to help with European ancestry research? I don't know that I can answer that specifically to European ancestry. Let me back up. To hire an expert can be very expensive. It depends on how you want to play the game. So if you want to do some of the research and then you just want to hire a genealogist to look up a specific record, that is way more affordable. But if you just want to hire someone to do the whole kit and caboodle, it can be very expensive. I know somebody told me the other day that Ancestry experts, they have I think a minimum of $5,000. So basically what you need to understand when you're hiring a genealogy, a professional genealogist, is you're paying for time, not results. And I think that can be disappointing for some when the paper trail runs out or the results aren't there. And so, you know, it's kind of, you have to trust who you're hiring. And, you know, I know Ancestry has a great reputation. There's a bunch of them out there. There's a bunch of groups that do really great research. But you're going to pay somewhere, I'm going to say on the low end, $50 an hour. And on the high end, maybe $150 an hour, maybe $200 an hour if you get a really superstar, somewhere in there. But here's the thing, you're going to pay a retainer. So you're going to start out probably paying, and every genealogist is a little different, right? But you may pay a retainer, $1,000 or $2,000 retainer just to get them started. So probably the first, I would say 5 to 10 hours is for that genealogist just to digest your information and understand what you've got. They have to read through all your records. So here's some advice. If you're going to hire a genealogist, only give them the records that pertain to the line of family you want to research. Because if you give them, here's everything I got, they're going to take the time to read through everything you've got to determine what parts of the, what pieces of information, what sources are important to your research question. So just like anything that we do in genealogy ourselves, professionals are going to run the same gamut. They're going to ask you, what's your research question? What is it you want to know? And if there are multiple things you want to know, they're going to want you to prioritize them. I want to know about this line first, and I want to know about that line second, right? So you're going to do that. And then they're going to start digging in and finding it. So you're talking hours and hours of research just to get started. And then, that's kind of the long and short of it. So I hope that answered your question. Let me take a look and see if there's anything else I can take a look at here. Yeah, I'm getting some feedback about whether the Hangout and just ask questions. That's good. One of these days I'm going to ask you guys to volunteer and help moderate the list. All right, here's one. I don't even know that I can answer this one. Is Ancestry or Heritage better? I think you're asking about MyHeritage better. I would appreciate an opinion on this. Thank you. Thank you, Angela, for the question. So I'm a big fan of Ancestry. There is no doubt. They have a ton of records. They have a lot. Now, there's advantages and disadvantages. So I would say MyHeritage has a lot of the same records that Ancestry has. Ancestry has purchased some records that they all over the world that maybe MyHeritage doesn't have, but I can tell you MyHeritage has some DNA tools that nobody has. So they've got the chromosome browser, which is really helpful if you're into DNA research. MyHeritage, I believe, has just acquired, if you have French ancestry, they have acquired, I think it's called Filet. I can't remember the name of the website. But they have acquired some of the French records. They're acquiring left and right companies. So they are growing rapidly. And they do have some of the greatest DNA tools out there. When it comes to DNA comparisons, boy, it's kind of hard, because Ancestry has 20 million records. I can't remember offhand what MyHeritage has. I think the last time I checked, it was 6 or 8 million DNA kits. But MyHeritage is a company out of Israel. And so they have a lot of foreign records as well. So it kind of depends on what you're looking for. So if you're looking for records in the UK, I would recommend Find My Past. If you are it depends on your budget. Their FamilySearch is free. WikiTree is free. If you want to, you can actually build a free tree on all of the websites without a subscription with a free guest account. So I hope that answered your question there. Oh my gosh, we're running long here. Let me see what else we might have up here. Anne says, what kind of topics or ideas do you want to cover next year? I have a really long list of ideas. But I'm trying to go with what is popular and what people want to see. And so I'm trying to stay in that vein. I'm an Ancestry girl, so I do a lot of updates on Ancestry. I am trying to spend some more time. I try and spend my weekends digging around on all of the sites and learning more and more all the time. So, I get some of these tips and ideas from you guys, so I'm always interested in hearing what you have to say. And so thanks for the question. Let me see what else we got going on here that I can... So, Deb asks, can people hire, I think she's asking about me, to help with a brick wall? I do not at this moment. Doesn't mean I won't, but I don't do any more research for hire just because I am so busy. But what I do is I am coaching. So I do one-on-one coaching. It's a Zoom call. It's a private Zoom call. Most of the people that I coach find me on Patreon. That is, a monthly subscription. If you just want to do a one-time thing, usually I do that through PayPal. Let me find you that graphic real quick. Let's see. Here it is. Let me drop this and put this up. So this is where you can find me for coaching. So it's one-on-one. I do them on Thursdays typically, and it's an hour session. We get together and talk via Zoom. It's just you and me. So if that's something you're interested in, go over to that link, and you have to click on. There's like only 3 at the top. You have to click on show all the levels to see all the levels. I get sold out once in a while. So, make sure that, hit me up if you have to I think you could probably join the Patreon at the Happy Dance level. By the way, the Happy Dance level over there at Patreon, you get the handouts, and those are sent to you in an attachment, which a lot of people really like that benefit. They don't have to go to the community tab to find the handout. So every time we upload a new video that has a handout, that gets sent to you by email through Patreon, and there is an attachment with that as well. Okay, let me see if there are any more questions. I'm trying to get to everybody's questions, and I probably missed them, and if so, I'm so sorry. I try to get to all of them. I think Jean says, Connie, watching you look up at your third monitor now makes me know why my neck hurts when I go home and look at my third monitor. You know what? I don't know if you guys saw the multiple monitor episodes in the clip also, but I'll tell you what, doing genealogy with multiple screens is just incredible. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. Well, I think at this point, I'm going to say goodbye. I think we already talked about next week's episode. Let me throw that up again. Make sure you see that. And, I always enjoy doing the live shows. It's kind of crazy, but I do appreciate all your help, all your support, all your comments. Oh my gosh, the comments are so sweet, and I really appreciate it. So you guys have a fabulous holiday season, and hopefully I'll stick around on the chat for a little bit and see if any more questions pop in. But you guys have a fabulous holiday, and we will see you live hopefully in January sometime. All right? Take care.